Joining me on my masterclass. Now, today I'll be teaching you how the super rich make money and stay wealthy. Now, it's commonly said that the rich don't work for money. They actually work for assets. And then those assets generate money, and that's how they live. It's the poor that work for money. And it's actually true. And I've taught you that several times on this channel. Now, most wealthy people in America and also in Europe, they stay wealthy by investing in index funds. Now, what's an index fund? An index fund is a mutual fund. Now, when you say mutual, it's because there are several people mutually contributing to that fund. That's what the mutual in mutual fund comes from. So an index fund is a mutual fund that is tied to a specific index. Now, there are several indexes. You've got the S&P 500 index, which to me is the best and the most reliable. You also have others. You've got the Russell, the 2000, you've got the Wilshire index. Now, an index is just a calculation of the best and the most profitable companies on the stock market. And that index, a number of companies subscribe to it, and then they invest the fund that you give them into that index. So think about it like when you were a child, you had cereals like cornflakes, Cocoa Puffs, Fruit Loops, those kind of cereals that Kellogg's make. And then, Kellogg's, they now make a variety pack of small miniature versions of each of their major cereals. And then you can buy that, variety pack, and then you have all of them, all of the best cereals. Now, that's what an index fund is. Or it's like you go to Europe, you're traveling in an airport, and then you see a lot of chocolates. Because, Europeans like chocolates. So you see Cadbury, you see Ferrero Rocher, you see Nestle, you see the very best Lindt chocolate. But then it's expensive to just buy, each and every one of those chocolates. But then they also have like miniature bags where they put tiny Lindt, tiny Cadbury, tiny Ferrero Rocher, tiny Nestle, and then you can actually buy that. So that's what an index fund is. It's like you're buying a tiny fraction of the entire stock market, the most profitable stocks, the most powerful stocks. That's what an index fund is. So now you have this mutual funds company. They subscribe to an index, maybe the S&P 500. So basically what the S&P 500 is, it's like the 500 largest companies being traded in the US stock exchange by market capitalization. And so every day they have a list of them. If any company falls out of the 500 largest companies by market capitalization, they kick it out of that index. So they have a list of mutual fund companies that subscribe to them. So every day they give them that information that these are the 500 largest companies in America by market capitalization on the stock market. Now, those companies, once a day, they have an algorithm that just invests that mutual fund, the money that you pay them, that a lot of people pay them, all these rich people pay them, they invest that money daily into that 500 largest market capitalization that the S&P 500 gives them. Or if it's the Russell 2000, or if it's the Wilshire Index, whatever index that they subscribe to, they just invest in that. Now, it is almost impossible to lose money from an index fund. Now, I would actually say impossible, but never say never. So if you look at it now, in the 98-year history of the S&P 500, they've had a compound annual growth rate of over 13%. So basically what that means is that if you invest in a mutual fund that deals with the S&P 500, in a year, you'll get, if you put in $100,000, you're going to get $13,000. Now, that $13,000 is just pure profit. Your $100,000 is still there. So now, you can invest in crypto and you can make that kind of money on a daily basis. But the thing is that crypto is very risky. You can lose all your capital. But with an index fund, is that it is so safe and so secure, and you hardly ever lose money. In fact, I don't even think it's possible to lose money, but I know that during the Second World War, people lost money in the index funds because generally war, is just a state of uncertainty. But other than that, even during the COVID-19 pandemic, the lockdown and all of that, people were still making money with index funds. So that is the most secure way. So if you have like, a reasonable amount of money, maybe like $500 to $100,000, I would encourage you, just put your money in an index fund and then have some other small money that you just invest in riskier ventures like crypto, like maybe other things, like the ETFs, like, basically things that come with more risk. But if you want stable guaranteed money, I would recommend that you invest in the index funds. Now, I'm going to tell you something. There are a variety of index funds. So it's not just that there's just one company. There are a variety of index funds. My favorite is going to be the VFIX. So that's going to be the Vanguard Index Fund. Now, the downside with that is that that index fund is a bit pricey, meaning that you need a minimum. It used to be 3,000 minimum investment, but then I think about a year or two ago, they increased it to $10,000 minimum investment. So you need a minimum investment of $10,000. But then that is the downside. But then the pro of that is that their expense ratio, meaning that the amount of money that they're going to charge you, is very low. It's 0.4%, 0.4%. So that basically means that for every $1,000 that you invest with them, they're going to charge you $4. So if you invest $10,000, they're going to charge you $40. If you invest $100,000, they're going to charge you $400. So it's really little. You've got other index funds. So you've got the Invesco, you've got also the NASDAQ Composite. Now those, they don't have any minimum investment. So you can actually go there with $5. You can go there with $500. But the thing is that their expense ratio is actually higher. So for instance, their expense ratio is about 0.15% actually. So basically what it means is that for every $1,000 that you're investing with them, they're going to charge you $15, which, on the grand scale of things is not very much, compared with the amount of money that you're going to be making. So whatever way you choose to go, if you want to go with VFIX, or if you want to go with Invesco, you want to go with the NASDAQ Composite, or you want to go with any other, body of index funds, it's best and better to do that than to go with all your money and invest in crypto, in NFTs, in an ETF, or put them in a safety deposit or a certificate of deposit, or what they call a fixed deposit in some countries. I'm telling you, an index fund is just the way to go. Now, here is another thing I need to tell you about index funds. A lot of people think that you need to be a US citizen or a US permanent resident to invest in index funds. No. There are no citizenship or residential requirements to invest in the US stock market. So you can be anywhere except a few countries that the US has placed some sanctions on, like North Korea, Iran, probably Russia right now with the Russia-Ukraine war. But even if you are in Timbuktu, you are in, the middle of the Sahara Desert, you can actually invest in an index fund in the United States, because US index funds tend to be the most profitable. Although you can also invest in index funds from Canada, from continental Europe, I would recommend that you invest in index fund in the United States. Now, if you've watched this and you have questions arising from this, maybe I've talked too fast, or maybe my accent is funny, or maybe, it was just something else, put your questions in the comment section of this video. My staff are going to bring them to me, and I'll do my best to respond to each and every category. Now, this is the Apostle of Prosperity, Pastor Reno, saying God bless you.
Reno travels all around the world. I hope you get inspired about what you see. Apostle of greatness, Reno is a master. Only one man against the whole world in large. Fighting with the monsters, poverty I can't stand. That's why Reno is